All right, welcome to the Hunt360 podcast. We're here live at Salt Lake City Western Hunting Expo. I'm E3 King, and I'm here with founder of Hunt360, Jeremy Williams, and we have a guest on from Beyond Rubicon, Brian Cillessen. Brian, it's great to have you. How you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing terrific. I'm here. That's the first good step, right?
Yeah.
And I wake up every day, and I'm in a hunting community where we put our constitution and our hunting heritage first, and I love it.
Yeah, well, man, I'll tell you, it's awesome to have you here, and it's been a pleasure sitting here chatting with you beforehand. To get to know you a little bit, and I can't wait to learn more.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, right? I mean, we're a pretty tight community overall.
Yep.
I think meeting new friends who have the same kind of interest. I mean, we just talked about your son killing a nice buck in an area that I grew up in. So, yeah. I mean, it's a really small world out there. So it's just nice to meet like-minded people.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you in the hunting world when you were a kid and,
Well, the truth is, I got to stand at the doorstep as my dad was leaving on his hunts when I was a kid, and I just watch him leave, and they'd come back. Sometimes they had game, sometimes they didn't, and I just really, really wanted to be with my dad out in the mountains doing everything that he did. He'll tell you that we weren't quite the hunters that we are now back in the day. A lot of road hunting. If we had an opportunity, we'd drive around. We'd get out and walk and chase animals too, but we just didn't really have the skills that we have today. We didn't have the tools or the know-how. But he'd do some stuff on horseback too.
Yeah.
And try to get in the back country, and it just gave me something to dream about. And so I just wanted to make that part of my heritage and be a hunter like my dad, my grandparents, and my uncles.
Did he do all this in New Mexico, where you're from?
Yeah, we grew up strictly in New Mexico. I mean, I don't think we knew how to hunt in another state at that point in time.
Yeah. That usually comes along, as you want to advance.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's cool. Do you have any kids you're passing it on to?
I do. I have a 13-year-old and a 5.12-year-old. He just turned 5, and he wants to be like his daddy, which is kind of scary. I'm like, you can just take the good stuff that I did, and you can do that, but. My 13-year-old, he's coming along too. I started introducing him to hunting maybe a little bit too young, and thought, this would be something great for both of us. And I think I burned him out a little bit, and had to back off and say, you know what, you don't have to be a hunter. I want you to find your own calling. And now, as a 13-year-old, when there's all these distractions in the world, he's asking me, Dad, can you put me in for a hunt? Are we going to go hunting? Because he loves it just like I do. It's a special place for me and my family. It's kind of like that one thing that brings us together no matter what.
Yeah, that great bond, every year.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So what, you got any cool plans coming up? Any cool hunts coming up?
I do. We're largely public land hunters. So when Beyond Rubicon was born, we didn't realize that we needed to hunt a heck of a lot more than we were. And so, but every year we put in for hunts all around the country, and we just kind of keep our fingers crossed and hope that some of them come together for us. And so right now we're planning on the only thing that we've got guaranteed is Turkey and South Africa.
Oh, really?
Everything else is up for grabs. We like to put in for August pronghorn antelope, and of course September elk. We like to try to do something if we can afford to do it outside of the state, but Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, we start to line them out the best that we can, and we like to throw a little whitetail in there too. So
that's awesome. Well, tell everybody a little bit about the history of the Rubicon. You were telling me earlier about the Rubicon, the name, and tell everybody where it all that came about.
Well, it kind of came about when I was in the Marine Corps and I was on active duty. So my brother's sitting there telling me stories about him learning how to bow hunt. I'm like, why do you want to bow hunt? Like, we like to shoot guns, and muzzleloaders are cool, but why bow hunt? And all of a sudden became a really good bow hunter. And I'm out there deployed, or I'm away from home and unable to hunt. So those rare opportunities I got to come home, he brought the video camera, we started filming it so I could take the hunt back with me.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's kind of how Beyond Rubicon started, is that people started to believe us when we could show them the animal that we got. And we could showcase the adventure, and it wasn't just us talking. We'd be like, yeah, we're on this awesome mountain, and we're chasing this Persian ibex that's down in the Florida mountains in southern New Mexico. And we could show people, this is for real. You could die up there. And I remember seeing the reactions of our friends and family when they'd see our videos. They were raw, and they were shaky, and it could have been the Blair Witch Project, but to see their reaction on what we were actually doing kind of drove me in that direction. And I thought, what's a better place than to become a YouTuber and showcase our hunts? But I'm active duty. I don't get that many opportunities to hunt at that point in time. And I know this may sound like a little long-winded answer, but when I decided to retire and leave the Marine Corps, I hired a movie crew and said, we're going to do it right. These guys know how to use really good cameras and make it really special. And they did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they made it special. We didn't kill anything, but it made it special. we had berets and red scarves and guys with accents and broke the bank, but the product was beautiful, and we were able to kind of showcase the adventure. And that's when I kind of learned, like, that's what it's about. It's about hunting. It doesn't have to be about killing. Just be out there and share that beauty with everybody else.
Yeah, so many people don't even know. I mean, there's so many public land. I mean, we're all public landowners, and if you're a citizen of this country, and basically the hunters are the majority of the ones in the whole country accessing all this public land.
Well, it's right. I mean, and we're the only ones that pay to access it.
Yeah, you're right.
And just to keep that going as well, because people talk about how can you kill something that you're trying to conserve, and it's like, well, hunting is it's primal for me. It goes back way before I was born, for thousands and thousands of years. So, there's nothing at all wrong with going out and harvesting your own food. And I think in the hunting community we use harvest a lot, because it's very similar to going out and tilling the ground and growing your own crops.
Yep.
So we use the word harvest, but you have to kill them to get them.
Yep.
And so for me, it's a combination of different things, and it's the icing on the cake. And so, we pay to do it. The Pittman-Robertson's Act, like,
no doubt.
Like, geez, it's so amazing what we do with it. And the haters are going to find a way to hate us. And I'm going to stand up and say, I am not ashamed. I'm very proud of our hunting heritage. And that's why Beyond Rubicon, the name, is so important. It goes back thousands of years to Julius Caesar when he crossed the Rubicon River on his rise to power. Now, I know we could talk about his dictatorship and how brutal of an emperor he was, but as far as strategy and tactics go, I mean, he was brilliant, and crossed the Rubicon River knowing that he couldn't go back. And so you don't hear the term very often anymore, but people would say on a certain topic, they've crossed the Rubicon. They can't turn back. It's the point of no return. The line in the sand, like, I'm going to cross it. So I figured we're already beyond the Rubicon, and we're never turning our back on the Second Amendment, on our way of life, on our hunting heritage, on our public lands. All of that is so important to the family tradition that my dad and my grandparents passed down.
That's sweet. I mean, it's a great history to the name. I mean, I don't know what kind of, did you research it, or did you just figure out, like, did you just know the story and that's what you wanted to go with?
I wanted something that represented us. So some research was out there, but I knew the story of Julius Caesar.
Right.
And especially with a strong military background, we study history first and foremost. We need to know the history of the United States. We needed to know the Constitution and what we're fighting for. And that story just kind of stood out, and it didn't really occur to me how important that would become to my life until I realized, like, no, I've crossed the Rubicon. Like, that's it. And so I get asked all the time, are you sponsored by Jeep? And it's like, nope, we're a little bit further back than that. Oh, it's the Rubicon Trail. No, it's a little bit more rugged than the Rubicon Trail, actually. And we go back, to the Jewel.
Well, I think it's a great name. I love the whole story is just awesome, because any entrepreneur who sticks their neck out and goes for it, I mean, they're crossing that. They're going all in.
All in.
I mean, if you don't go all in, you never succeed.
That's right.
You just can't dip your toe in there and hope for the best and say, well, if it does this, well, I'm good. You got to go all the way if you're going to succeed. And that's just, I've never heard the story before like you put it.
Well,
really strong.
And hope is not a course of action.
Right.
We can throw something out there and hope that it's successful, and we can hope that we do well with it, but it's not. That can't be part of your plan.
No, you got to make it.
You got to make it happen.
Exactly. I'm a firm believer in making it happen.
That's right. I believe you, because I wouldn't be sitting right here if it weren't for that.
That's awesome. I mean, I appreciate it. I know E3 appreciates as well. You sitting here talking with us and getting our, letting your fans, our fans, you hear your story and where you're going to go with your show. And so, I mean, what's your goals? I mean, where you want to? What else you want to do with your show?
I think I have goals that are more like life goals that feed the goals for the show, right?
Yeah.
Like first and foremost, I think I just want to find joy
Yep.
in everything that I do. I want to teach my kids and those people that I'm with that you don't take one moment in life for granted. And hunting for me is that one place where you have to be present
Yep.
in that moment and let everything else go. And when you stumble and fall and you make a mistake and your prey gets away from you, that elk you've been chasing for 3 weeks disappears into another canyon, how do you deal with that little tribulation?
How do you react?
And react and respond and go forward. And it kind of feeds the Marine inside of me as well, because it's a tactical game out there. I have to be on my game to make it happen. Now, luck, I will never discount luck. I like to think hard work and opportunity come together, and that helps create a little bit of luck. But now the truth is, you can do, on one hunt, you can experience all the ups and downs of life and walk out of there whistling Dixie. Just having a good time, just being happy with what you did. And your level of success is defined by moments that you're out there. And so that's what it is for me, is to just be content in this world and confident to know that I'm not just going to survive, but I'm going to thrive while I'm out there.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you got a great story. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, you got a passion. I mean, we get to hear a lot of stories, and you can tell that people have the passion and drive. I mean, you definitely have it. I mean, you're knocking it out of the park. So I can't wait to start watching your shows and seeing what you do.
Well, I hope you give us some, you get to look at our story and see how it is, because it doesn't revolve just around me, because I said it's a family heritage.
Yep.
And so no family members are off limits. I remember when I saw my dad tear up on film for the first time, and I put it on an episode on national television. He's like, "You showed me crying." And the very next episode, I showed Jeff crying, my brother. It took a couple of years before I shed some tears, but it's a raw emotion, and we're bringing our kids into it. We're teaching them about how we like to hunt and navigate the world. And so that's part of what we're showcasing, our friendship and a camaraderie that's out there. You'll see it. I think it'll be evident when you watch the episodes.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. Matter of fact, I mean, you got yourself on YouTube, or that you can watch it off YouTube as well?
Well, we're building our YouTube.
Okay.
We're largely tied up with just the network. I brought a movie crew out, and when I started trying to shop it around, we built this pilot episode, and it was beautiful, and I wanted to go on YouTube, and I was had given advice from people that were in the industry and outside of the industry, and next thing you know, we're getting people calling us from Los Angeles, big production companies, wanted to do more survival and wanted to use our story for that. And but I wanted to keep it at home. I didn't want to dilute it with reality and that kind of conflict that creates a reality show. And I said, you know what, we're gonna stay focus oriented. We're gonna stay focused on hunting. We're gonna be oriented on hunting and that way of life, because we're a small percentage of the population with the biggest impact on our own environment. So why not? Why can't we do it?
Kudos to you, man, for sticking to what your vision is and living out your vision.
Yeah.
Not let somebody else drive it.
That's how you're true to yourself, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you take your vision and roll with it, and stay true to it. And like you say, if something acts, you react, and correct yourself and go with it.
That's what we got to do. I mean, I love being a Marine. I'm not going to lie to you. Every moment, it was the hardest decision I made, but it was a big part of that was I wasn't able to experience the outdoors like I wanted to. And I was kind of scared to leave the Marine Corps, to be honest with you. I've become
dependent on it?
I just a part of the Marine Corps culture, and I loved it. And I still have friends that are still active duty in the Marines, and look at me, and they're like, "You're living the dream." I'm like, "You're living the dream, buddy." Because we were all very fortunate to have the opportunity to serve. I mean, nobody promised us anything except for 3 hots and a cot when we raised our right hand, swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
3 hots and a cot. And to come home and to have a grateful nation like we do is just a bonus. And we should never take it for granted.
Yeah,
just like I don't want to take any moment this day forward for granted ever again.
Yeah. So, where did you serve? I mean, where did all you get deployed anywhere? Or?
Yeah, I was, part of our oath is you may have an opportunity to go do your country's bidding overseas. And so I was fortunate to go to Mogadishu as a youngster, and then Iraq and Afghanistan, of course. I never got comfortable in any one place. I got to experience being a machine gunner as an enlisted guy. Went over to the dark side, as they say, and got commissioned as a second lieutenant and experienced every facet of the infantry military occupational specialties. Ultimately ended up as a special operations officer when the Marine Corps finally joined Special Ops in 2006. And so, I never became complacent. I was always on my toes, mainly because I had to keep learning new and better jobs.
All right.
But no, Afghanistan was probably the coolest place I got to be. And I was in the Hindu Kush Mountains chasing, straight up Al-Qaeda operatives. And every day, we're like, we're going to be the ones to find Osama bin Laden, right? Like, we're going to be the one. We're going to get him. I'm going to be the guy that gets to shoot that dude in the face. Because we just knew he was, such a terrible human and, wanted to push his will on the rest of the world. We knew he was an important guy to take out, but all of his cohorts were also,
equally
bad and wanting to disrupt our way of life just because we were different. And that was unfortunate. But not everybody there was our enemy. I got to go up into these remote villages that hadn't seen a Caucasian man since the Russians invaded, and some of them maybe never. And these remote villages in these mountains living kind of like we live, culturally completely different. Right. Instead of horses and six-shooters, they had, Hiluxes and machine guns. And their number one focus was to survive. Just basic human nature. Once you were able to reach them at that level, you kind of realize you have more in common with these people than
they're human.
They are, and they're human. And so when you started to approach it in that fashion, then you realize there's a small percentage of them that just don't want that kind of influence. They don't want that positivity. They don't want to accept Western ideals. And so we drew them out of the hills and brought them into the fight. And it was good and bad. I
can imagine. I can't imagine. So. I don't know, but I mean, I know it's. So I was just sort of curious. What kind of wildlife did you see in Afghanistan? I know they got argalis and they markhors and.
I was expecting to see crazy ibex rolling around and Marco Polo, and I didn't. I mean, their wildlife was not being conserved like it is here.
And they slaughtered. They survive.
They do. And so they overgraze their land, and they don't have a lot of good practices in place to even preserve their own environments. And so they're clear cutting their forests, and I didn't see hardly any wildlife except for wild monkeys, if you can believe that.
Really?
Oh, they'd scare the snot out of me. Because when you see the shadow running in front of you, you don't know if it's a human 100 yards away or a monkey 30 yards away, right? So, but yeah, no, we tried to bring one. My granddad had a pet monkey in World War II, and I said, we're going to have a pet monkey too. Worst mistake I ever made. That monkey was mean. He was loyal to one person, and he'd throw poop at you. So that was really it. Like if we saw the monkeys, we were like, okay, there's wildlife here, but that was it for me. Lots of other wildlife, when the bad guy's trying to move on you, but.
I was just always curious. I've never got to ask anybody about the wildlife in Afghanistan. I know there's a lot of wildlife in Pakistan.
Yep.
Because they're protecting their wildlife. They see the economic value of their wildlife.
Exactly right.
And,
deeper in the Hindu Kush Mountains, I think that they were there. I met a guy who was a hunter, and him and I hit it off right away. We didn't understand a word we were saying, but through our interpreter, he would tell me about his adventures in hunting, and we just had this
bond
connection, and this bond immediately. And so it was interesting to hear his stories, even though I didn't get to personally participate in his hunts. We're just doing our own kind of hunting while we're out there.
There's no telling what kind of stories that guy had hunting in those mountains.
Yeah, that rugged people and tough, and how they navigate that and survive those winters up there is beyond me. I mean, their average lifespan's only like 43 years old, or was at the time, for the average male. I mean, that's way too young to die. And, that rough life that they're living up there is, something to be studied. And we can really appreciate our way of life when we come back home and realize that, hey, we get to spend a lot of time hugging our kids that a lot of people don't get to do.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Those are great. That kind of stuff is really what people like. They want to know who you are, and that's that's what I want to know. I want to hear that kind of stuff. So it builds up to when I watch your show, I'm like, this is what this guy got led up to.
Well, and I've been criticized for not sharing enough of that because I like to hold it in. So we talk about how I was in the Marines and stuff, but these kind of stories don't come out very often because I'm mission focused, right? It's about the hunt. It's not about me, but in all reality, people want to know more.
Yeah, they want to know your vision. I mean, they want to know you. I mean, you are the vision.
Right.
They want to know who you are. It's very intriguing to me.
I'm fascinated. This isn't lip service. I have the utmost respect for you. Thank you for your service, but I'm fascinated.
I really do appreciate you being grateful for that and for all the other servicemen and women that are out there. And every time we're at one of these banquets here, I mean, right now we're at the Western Hunt Expo. I mean, this place is full of just, red-blooded Americans who love our way of life and true patriots. And we get into one of those giant banquets and they have all the veterans stand up. I almost don't even want to stand up because what I want to do is say, you pay your taxes, you're raising your kids right, you're teaching our kids in school, you started a business and you took a risk, you're serving in a different capacity, bravo. And I want to applaud them and tell them thank you because if it wasn't for that, we would have no platform to stand on. And I just want to raise them up and say, we're all doing our part. And that's really what it boils down to is we're all doing our part to make this country great and keep it great. And we have nothing to be ashamed of in that realm either. I don't want to turn this into a political thing, but I am a believer in our country and our Constitution, our way of life, and there's no shame in that.
Let me tell you, I'm straight up the same exact way, man. I'm a believer in our country. I'm proud of our country, our flag, our military. I can't be more proud to be. This is the greatest country in the world. It always has been.
It has been, and it will continue to be. And it's people like us that believe and can see past it. Our flag unites us.
Yep. It
unites us. It's not meant for division.
Exactly. I feel the same way. Man, it's been a pleasure to sit here and talk with you. I mean, it's just been a great thing. I
really appreciate it. This is really neat. And it's such a small world, right? I mean, our friend Jordan with the draw is like, hey, I know some people that might want to meet you. It brings us over and introduces, and now I have new friends.
Yeah. So, you got any cool story, like hunting stories? I mean, elk or deer? I mean, what you got? I know you got something. You got to have one really good story that sticks out.
Well, I can go back to recent history for me, and I'm in central New Mexico hunting bull elk.
Yeah.
I got the first archery tag, so the rut's kind of a little bit slow, and the first couple days I had all my friends and fans. Labor Day weekend. We all met up. A buddy of mine, Mike, put us out in he had a little bunkhouse on a small piece of land nearby where we were hunting. He said, you can park your campers there, set up base camp. We'll come hang out with you for the weekend. And so we did it. It was great. And I had, everybody supporting me on the hunt, which was pretty neat. And I was the focus. And that doesn't always happen. I'm behind the scenes. I'm filming. I'm coordinating with cameramen and trying to make sure we have the best chance for success. But I was the center of attention. It was really neat until the weekend was over and everybody had to leave and go back to real life. And I found myself alone in the woods. And that's not how I learned to love hunting. I think I mentioned it's family, It's tradition, it's camaraderie. And so now I'm out there alone. It's just me. There's no excuses. I have nobody say, you stepped on a twig or, oh man, our scent signature's too big. Every decision that I made was on my shoulders, and I had to own every bit of it. And I loved it. I loved it. And to make a couple decisions that actually got me close to some elk was pretty neat. And I think about the 6th day, I'm sitting here, and I never hunt over water. I've never had luck on water. I don't know if I'm too restless and not disciplined enough, but I was up there on top of this ridge, far away from the nearest road, and this bull was up there, and I could hear him bugling from his bed. And I knew he was a rutting bull, and I knew he was a big bull. I'd gotten eyes on him. And I just stayed above him, and if he shifted, I shifted with him. And about 6 or 7 hours into it, I said, I tried to sneak up on him, and he busted me.
Oh.
Actually, his cows busted me. I don't think he actually knew I was there, but his cows busted me. I got eyes on him, got about 80 yards in thick timber, and and saw him disappear out of the edge, and he bugled far away from me, and he was going away, and I pulled out my GPS. I'm studying. I'm like, he didn't leave this ridge. He's been up here all day, and there's no water. I looked, studied my map, jumped down, and hauled it as fast as I could to the nearest water hole. I said, I bet he's going to turn. He's going to stay in this ridge. He's going to go right for that dang water. I didn't get set up, and the first bull comes walking in. And I'm like, how did Brian Cillessen make a decision like that? And here comes a small raghorn that I'd seen with the big boy. And then my heart just started boom, 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 boom. And I build a little hasty blind, and that I could see the 5x5. He comes and drinks. I'm ranging him. I'm practicing. I hear this monarch, just bugle, just this guttural, like, I'm here. And that was it. And the next thing I hear is him through the grass. And he walks the same line that 5x5 did. I'd ranged everything. I knew it cold. It was the perfect setup. He has no idea I'm there. The wind is in my favor. My heartbeat is the only thing that's really distracting me. But I, took control of it, took a deep breath, pulled my bow back and leveled my pins, and I let her rip and missed. I smacked that bull in the top of his back. There was not even one drop of blood that happened. The hair goes flying, my air bounces off into the grass, and I almost threw up. It was the worst feeling in the world. I'm looking at this bull, and he starts to run through the water, and I said, don't even look. Don't throw up. Grab another arrow. And I slammed another arrow out of my quiver onto my string, got it set, and then looked up for the first time, and he stopped broadside at 60 yards. And he's just staring straight at me. And I had my rangefinder. I brought it up just as quietly and as slow as I could and got the range on him. But I couldn't pull back. He's just burning a hole in me. And for some reason, he decided to take his eyes off and reach down and sniff the ground. Boom! I pulled back, leveled my pins, and let her rip. And that bull's at the taxidermist right now. And how to have a second chance like that, because I thought I blew it. I'd been working so hard and going so far and so deep and doing some things that were right and made the right decision. And then all the practice came down to me putting the wrong pin on them. And I normally count my pins, and I normally do this real basic stuff when I'm practicing. And all that went out the window. And I let my emotions get the best of me and settled a 60 pin at a 40-yard shot.
Yeah, but you corrected and reacted.
I did. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that I stopped myself from throwing up and just reached down and reloaded as fast as I could, that if I'd have just thrown my bow on the ground like I wanted to do and just roll over and lay in my own vomit, then it wouldn't have happened. But I was able to take that breath, get refocused, and when he stopped and gave me that chance, I was already reloaded, and I got him.
Sweet.
So it was pretty sweet. So that's my favorite story as of late, but we would be here all night if I wanted to tell you hunting stories.
Oh, that's cool, man. I always try to get a really good story out of their personal favorites, and
Yeah.
they mean a lot for people when they
If the microphone could only hear my heart racing right now, because I get goosebumps and it starts racing just even thinking about that moment. Yeah, it's really true, because it was that emotional. I mean, this bull came in perfectly and gave me the perfect shot, and I screwed it up.
Oh man. No, well, no, you corrected, and that was a test.
It was a test. And I have, I should send it to you. I have a short film on it that we had at the Badlands Film Festival this year at the ATA.
Yeah, send it to me.
And so I'll send it to you, and it's a fun one. It's only 7.5 minutes too, so you don't even have to invest that much time. I kind of showcase what it was like to miss that shot.
Let's go.
Well, man, Brian, it sure has been a pleasure sitting here with you. I appreciate your time, and it's been an honor to meet you, to be honest.
Well, thank you for having me, guys.
It's
I
been
think
great.
you're on to something, and I'm excited to be a small part of it.
So tell everybody your website address and your Facebook and all that.
Okay, well, you can find us at beyondrubicon.com on the www, right? On the Wild World Web? Wait, the World Wide Web, right?
Wide Web.
Does anybody even use that terminology
I don't
anymore?
think
So, I mean, you don't even have to do www anymore.
just say,
It's beyondrubicon.com.
Rubicon.com.
And you can find me Beyond Rubicon on Facebook and Beyond Rubicon on Instagram. I don't do Twitter, though I probably should. And then we're building our YouTube channel. So lots of content's coming out on our YouTube channel. here in the next couple months.
Good, and then we're going to get you on the Hunt360 platform when the media channels get going, and which by the time you hear this, they will be going. So
it will be going. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, thank you, man, and we'll let you get back at the show here.
All right. Well, good luck to you guys.
Take care.